Welcome back to the Arise and Joy Challenge. Today's activity is forgiveness. Why forgiveness? Because it sets you free. In fact, one of the biggest things that holds people back from experiencing true happiness in their lives is resentment. It's a heavy feeling that we carry along with us, and it's the biggest piece of baggage that most people have. So the key here is to break down the walls of the prison and set the inmate free. And you might be thinking, well, I'm not really holding anybody in prison, but it's not about other people. You're the one who's the inmate. You create a prison around yourself by harboring resentment towards other people or holding resentment towards yourself for things that you've done. And harboring that resentment is like taking poison and expecting somebody else to die. So if you have things that you haven't forgiven in your life, be really honest with yourself and ask if the reason why you continue to hold on to it is because in some way you think you're harming the other person. Like you're holding it against them and they owe you something. Because in reality, they probably don't even know you're harboring resentment towards them. They have no idea you're feeling those feelings. But you want to know who does know? You do. And you want to know who's harmed by it? You are. And the reason why this is so important when it comes to challenging yourself to live a happier life is that no matter how much work you do to create more happiness in your life, if you're holding feelings of anger and resentment, you can't really find full joy. It's holding you back and it's keeping you in prison, and you're not going to be free. So before we move forward and I ask you to do the activity in the sheet, I just want to clarify what forgiveness really is. A lot of people don't want to forgive because they assume that it means releasing somebody from their responsibility. They assume it means reconciling or denying that something happened or allowing it to happen again. And this is absolutely not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness does not have to change anything in your external world. It's a change within yourself. It's a releasing of that feeling that somebody owes you something, like there's a constant debt, like you're trying to get back at them. Even more importantly, is freeing yourself of the anger and the hatred and the resentment that weighs you down. Because if you can forgive somebody, or if you can forgive yourself and you can give yourself that freedom, that lightness, it opens up all this space that's within you that you can fill with emotions that are much more empowering and happy. So I have an activity for you to complete, and I'll go over what it is and how to do it. Your challenge for the day is to complete this activity. It's a challenge because I recognize forgiveness is a touchy subject, but if you take the time to complete this step of the challenge, it will be extremely helpful and powerful, and when you do it, you'll feel a huge weight lifted. Okay, so the first place to start is forgiveness of yourself. What happens when we've done something against ourselves or against somebody else, we tend to carry around guilt. And instead of paying once for the mistake like an animal would do, for example, if an animal is mean to another animal, it gets bit, it gets hurt, it pays a price, and then it moves on with its life. But with humans, we tend to remember it, and we tend to beat ourselves up about it over and over and over again. So that's why it's important to start with forgiving yourself. So what happens if you don't forgive yourself? Either you'll go overboard trying to repay some sort of debt, usually to another person, and feeling indebted to them, or you may sabotage or punish yourself, often without even realizing it. So take a moment and consider what things you need to forgive yourself for. What things do you regret? How are you punishing yourself for it? And how is that impacting your life? If you have to, go ahead and make an apology, whether to yourself or to the other person, for the things that you need to forgive yourself for. And the second step after you've forgiven yourself is to look at what ways you can forgive others. So write down the people that you feel you need to forgive and what you need to forgive them for. Reflect on what pain not forgiving them is causing you in your life, and look at the experience and see if there are any lessons you can draw from it that will help you let it go. Then you need to let go of any expectations, because forgiving somebody isn't about wanting an apology from them or wanting them to do something. It's about doing it for yourself. And then if you feel like it's appropriate, you can express your forgiveness, but it's not mandatory. If you do this activity, I promise you will feel a sense of freedom that will pervade your life, because you will no longer be carrying around that baggage. All right, thank you for completing the challenge. I'll talk to you again soon.